I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
This is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review. This is another paid request, this time for Andrew Patterson. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos or topics or what have you, commentaries, whatever, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for a film called Private School from 1983. You got Phoebe Cates, who was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Gremlins. You got Matthew Modine. You have Betsy Russell. She would later be in the Saw films. I believe she played Tobin Bell's wife. And she appeared, especially in the later Saw movies. This is a movie that is very, very much a relic of its time. That you would never make this kind of movie today. First off, there's a lot of nudity. A lot of women nudity, which is nice. A lot of creep aspects of the guys. A lot of stuff I'm watching and going, wow, that would not go through today. It's a movie that doesn't really have a plot. You can barely say it has a plot. It's kind of just a series of situations loosely linked together. Phoebe Cates and Matthew Modine are a couple. Phoebe Cates goes to this all-girls private school where, like I said, you have Betsy Russell. She's kind of... You think she's kind of a villain, but by the end she's not really, because she's just with the other girls. You also have, I forget her name, the girl, she was in Roadhouse. Not the girl that was with Patrick Swayze, but it was like one of the other women in Roadhouse, and I believe she was in a Charles Bronson film. Maybe Murphy's Law? It's been a while. I cannot remember the actress's name. Anyway, it has a pretty stellar soundtrack. American Girl, I Want Candy, Little Red Riding Hood. That song that I remember was in commercials all the time in the 90s, the 2000s, the da da da, boom boom, da da da, which I remember. It was in a commercial. I forgot what commercial it was. I just remember when it was on TV getting annoyed more and more. But in a weird way, it was kind of like, wow, I haven't... It was a big thing for a couple years, and then I never heard that song again until now. I'm like, wow, it was around in 1983? That da da da. And it's a lot of guys being creeps, dressing up as women to go into the all-girls school. You have this fat guy who's the hoardy fat guy who watches the women in the public shower, and a lot of nudity. If you want to see an 80s film with a lot of nudity, Private School is your thing. Especially Betsy Russell. She gets her clothes taken off a lot, and it's like she doesn't really care. Like there's a point where she's on a horse, her clothes, like she's taken off her top to show to people, and then someone takes your shirt, and she's like, "Oh well, I'm riding this horse, topless." I mean, it's not a long film. It's 90 minutes long. There's enough nudity in there that'll keep you awake. I like Phoebe Cates as an actress. Betsy Russell, I didn't mind. I actually thought Betsy Russell was, I wouldn't say the more interesting character, but just the girl I was more drawn towards, even though, again, it seemed like the movie was going to say she was the bully of the group, but at the same, because it seemed like she wanted to fuck over Matthew Modine and Phoebe Cates' relationship, and I want Matthew Modine to come with me, seduce him. But then there's never really a point where Phoebe Cates and Betsy Russell has a fight or argument or battle each other, because at the end of graduation, they're standing side by side with each other, as if it's all fine and dandy, which I thought was a bit weird. And like I said, it's a movie that would not be made today. Because it'd be a glorification of women, it would be un-PC, it'd be sexist. But as a guy, it's very nice to see a beautiful women exercising. They're either enticing guys by taking off their clothes, or there's an arcade game because Matthew Modine, the fat guy, and this third guy, the three of them go around and they're at this arcade, and there's an arcade game called Big Store. We don't see the game, but we see the cabinet and we see the buttons, and the buttons are the the buttons are thrust and withdraw, thrust, withdraw, and the noises you hear, you can tell what kind of game it is. It's a fucking game, not a fucking game, but a actual, fucking game. What I especially mean by it's a relic of its time and the very creep aspects, one of the girls, like the one who's really close with Phoebe Cates, her kind of boyfriend is the horny fat guy. And she tells about how, well, I had sex with him. He said it was good. I mean, I wouldn't know. I was passed out. But he said it was good, and there were 3 orgasms. I'm like, you were passed out. He had sex with you, and you're like, he said it was good. So he date raped you, is what you're saying. He date raped you. He fucked you when you were passed out. And this is acceptable. And I'm like, wow, we let some things go in the 80s. Apparently, wow. Wow. And this is a guy that's going out with this girl, but then he's trying to hump anything that moves. If a fly went by, he would probably try to hump it. He'd probably try to get his dick on the fly and fly away with it. And I do mean there's barely a plot. It's pretty much just them experiencing private school, the guys trying to get with the girls, or they're dressed up as women to sneak in to see the girls. And Matthew Modine's character's an idiot because Phoebe Cates has specifically said, in a week, we're going to share a hotel together. You can't wait a week, Matthew Modine? Really? So instead, the 3 of them sneak in. Matthew Modine's seduced by Betsy Russell, where he's giving her massages and stuff while in women garb. Because they pretend to be women. But you tell, like, the women, they see through it. Like, Betsy Russell sees Matthew Modine, and she has a, oh, you must be woman. Like, she knows it. So I do like the fact that she easily recognizes how bullshit these disguises are. There's a party for Betsy Russell's dad, and the headmistress, kind of the principal of the private school, she's led to this limo, and she thinks this guy is Betsy Russell's dad, this rich guy, but it's not. It's the chauffeur, the limo driver, played by Ray Walston, the guy from the original My Favorite Martian TV show. And he's popped up a lot. He was in Popeye's dad, Robin Williams' dad in Popeye from the 80s. He was in Stephen King's The Stand from the 90s. He was in this bike movie called Rad. Ray Walston popped up a lot, but originally he was in the original My Favorite Martian TV show. I was surprised to see him in this, and in this kind of role where he starts having sex with the headmistress in the limo, and it's on the speakers, and everyone starts to hear it. So you hear this 60-year-old headmistress's orgasm. Yeah. And the car gets loose, it goes to the pool. Very nonchalantly, like Matthew Modine, Phoebe Cates, they broke up and then they get back together, and there's really nothing dramatic, really nothing to it. I would say the Phoebe Cates, Matthew Modine stuff was just the slimmest of plot. Sally was the least interesting part of the movie, because I do not think they had chemistry with each other. I like Phoebe Cates. Matthew Modine I don't mind as an actor. I just don't think they really had that great chemistry with each other. And again, the ironic thing is the stuff that was non-plot was the more either fun or more okay, they went that way. Or this is honestly one of those movies you watch for the nudity and a pretty decent soundtrack. And I don't mind the cast, as in Phoebe Cates and Betsy Russell. Didn't mind them. This is a movie that on cable back in the day, kids would find to watch on their form of Skinamax, to be able to see the nudity. I do wonder how these films play nowadays with other people. Like for me, like I said, it's interesting to watch as a relic of its time, where you'll never see a film like this again, because as they were deemed way too sexist and all that stuff. Like I said, the clothes, like I said, pretty damn decent soundtrack. The non-plot, the tons of nudity, the date rape that's just casual, just normal, typical. Oh, that guy, that fat guy, what a blah, blah, blah. And like also one of the students' dads likes to feel up the students. Like during the party, Betsy Russell's dad, like, no, it was someone else's dad. Someone else's dad just grabs Betsy Russell and starts feeling her tit. And I'm like, this would never, Jesus Christ. Again, they got away with a lot back in the day, didn't they? Holy shitola. This was a movie that would be easily canceled today, as they call it. So yeah, a lot of the guys are not really likable. They are pretty much creeps. Even Matthew Modine, he's kind of a creep. Because you have Phoebe Cates, but you're purposely being seduced by Betsy Russell, and you're giving her massages and looking at her with the fuck me eyes. Right, she's the one seducing you, but it's like, you have a girlfriend, Phoebe Cates. She should have just dumped his ass for good, honestly. And like I said, one of the more interesting points of the plot is Betsy Russell in another film, she'd be the ultra evil villain bitch, and Phoebe Cates and her friend would be battling her. That's not really the case. I mean, even at the end, or near the end, the fat guy tries to get into Betsy Russell's pants and made a bet like, I could get her panties. And Phoebe Cates' friend and Betsy Russell both attack the fat guy. Just Phoebe Cates' friend is going, wait a minute, I thought you were my boyfriend. And Betsy Russell, like I said, Betsy Russell and her attack the fat guy like he fucking deserves it. And run his ass off. So like I say, it's interesting that Betsy Russell in another film would be the villain that would be ostracized, thrown out, comeuppance. Not really. Like, she doesn't get any comeuppance. Like I said, by the end, she's staying side by side with Phoebe Cates and her friends. So, again, interesting in that aspect. And it ends with all the female students mooning the faculty as they graduate. Like I said, a lot of sexy women, a lot of clothes off, public showers. It's very much in the success of films like Porky's, a lot of these movies. I mean, you can almost call this a female Porky's. I know there are other movies around the time, Private Lessons, others, that when they're successful, a lot of other movies would follow. I think this did make a little bit of money when it came out, at least compared to its low budget. And the director, I don't recognize his other work. I think this is the same director that directed Anthony Perkins and the film in the 60s. I think I read up that Anthony Perkins wanted that director to work on Psycho 4, but of course someone else did Psycho 4. I really don't know what else to say. Like I said, it has an arcade machine where the buttons are thrust and withdraw. It has a girl casually talking, "Oh yeah, I was passed out and but he said it was good." If you, at least to repeat one last time, and there's the neighbors, animals. My neighbor has chickens. I guess they heard that. They go, "Yeah, I want to see it." Like I said, if you want to see it, it's a interesting, fun. I mean, the opening song is literally, the lyrics of the opening song is, "You're breaking my heart, tearing it apart, fuck you." That's the opening song. Yeah. My neighbor's chickens. Like, what? Yeah, that's the fucking opening lyrics. Like, the opening song's lyrics. "You're breaking my heart, tearing it apart, fuck you." That's how the movie starts. You know, yep, this is the 80s. Whether you want to say for better or worse, this is the 80s. And if you want to see a relic of its time, the good, the bad, ugly, however, go for it. I didn't hate the film. It was fun to watch. It's not a movie I would rewatch again. I mean, if I want nudity, it's porn for that. Phoebe Cates, I would just rather watch Gremlins. Betsy Russell, she was gorgeous. If you're looking for plot, story, decency, this isn't the movie for you. But like I say, it's fun for what it is. Other than the really creepy aspects that you look back at today and go, how the fuck did they get away with this? I don't know, but we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.